Yo, what's the word, boys? Welcome back. In today's video, we're going to be ranking UFC fighters based on how entertaining they are, how exciting they are as a UFC fighter. Drop a like, comment down below what you guys make of this list. Did I fuck up? Did I do great? Let me know, and click that subscribe button for more. Help me get to 1,000 subscribers. If everybody that watched this video clicked the subscribe button, we could get there. Next up, we're not next up. We're just fucking starting. All right, Magomed Ankalaev, B tier, underrated entertainer in my opinion. And this list is gonna be pretty much only on what they do inside the cage, none of the outside of the cage antics. Magomed Ankalaev, good striker, good wrestler. Grappling and BJJ game is not really there, but I feel like he has exciting fights, man. He gets finishes. He's at the top of the light heavyweight division. The fight with Jan Blachowicz was interesting. Knocked out Johnny Walker. I do believe he gives problems to a guy like Alex Pereira. I feel like he's in that middle tier, the B tier for Magomed Ankalaev, and there's so many fighters, so we're gonna go quick. Next up, Jailton Almeida, underrated in terms of how exciting he is. People look at that Derek Lewis performance where he literally disappeared, like Colby Covington at UFC 296. He literally disappeared in that performance, but besides that, it's literally finish after finish after finish. And I love watching his grappling, especially in the heavyweight division, where we don't get that level of grappling anymore. We really don't. It's him, Curtis Blades. Maybe you want to throw in Tom Aspinall into that conversation, but he's a very unique heavyweight who gets finishes. So I'm going to put him in the A tier. Moving on, we have Aljamain Sterling. I'm going to go B tier for Aljamain Sterling. Underrated entertainer, in my opinion. I love watching his grappling. Some of the most dominant grappling in the UFC. Does have some sleepy performances like that Calvin Kattar. Maybe I'm going to drop him to C tier. Yeah, sorry, Aljo. We're gonna go C tier for Aljamain Sterling. He does have some sleepy performances, man, and what he did, I wouldn't say what he did, but where he got kneed in the head by Petr Yan, not that exciting. Could have maybe fought more. I don't know. I'm not Aljo, but you guys get where I'm going at. Calvin Kattar fight was had a good performance over TJ Dillashaw. It was a fun fight against Sean O'Malley. I'll go C tier for Aljamain Sterling. Next up, Jose Aldo. Oh my God, there's so many fighters. Holy shit, man. I don't know if we're going to do all of them. We're going to try, though. We're going to go pretty fast. Jose Aldo, B tier, doesn't have the finishes like he used to. If you look back at that WEC championship level, Jose Aldo, where it was literally finish after finish after finish after finish after finish, he'd go S tier, but we're not in those days. It's 2024. Fun fighter. Love watching him fight, but he isn't an Alex Pereira. So we'll go B tier for Jose Aldo. Next up, Tom Aspinall. I am known as a Tom Aspinall glazer. But I'm fine with that. I'll openly accept being a Tom Aspinall glazer. I think he absolutely runs through John Jones. I don't even think that fight's competitive. That's one of my hottest takes. I don't think that fight's competitive. He has the shortest average fight time in UFC history. Nuff said. Moving on, Max Holloway, I'm going S tier. I don't care. I don't care that he doesn't get all the finishes in the world. I love watching Max Holloway fight. What he did to Justin Gaethje, best knockout in UFC history. What he did to the Korean Zombie, brutal. Max Holloway is one of my favorite UFC fighters of all time, and I think he's a top 5 UFC fighter of all time. Check the TikTok out for more of that. And maybe I'll drop my top 20 UFC fighters of all time video pretty soon. Holloway, S tier. Joaquin Buckley, B tier. He has KO power, has one of the craziest knockouts in UFC history, but some of his fights could be but he does have some really entertaining fights at the same time. You could definitely throw him in the A tier, but I like him in B tier for now. Gilbert Burns, I'm going to go, I don't know, back of B tier. When his opponents bring it, firefight. Look at that Khamzat fight. But I feel like his style alone, especially in 2024, isn't the most exciting. With all due respect, I think his grappling game's a little bit overrated. Not the cleanest striker anymore. I'm going to go B tier for Gilbert Burns. Next up, Jared Cannonier. It's 2024, guys. I'm going to go Jared Cannonier in C tier. I think he's an underrated fighter, but it's 2024. It's 2024. It's 2024. I believe he's entertaining, sure, but it's like that. It's like that weird middleweight loophole where it's the Jared Cannoniers, the Paulo Costas, the Marvin Vittoris, and it's just like, oh, they're gonna go to a 5-round striking battle. Okay, it's like when everybody's out on that Saturday night and you have to watch Jared Cannonier versus Marvin Vittori in the Apex Fight Night main event. It's just like, I don't want to be doing that, man. He's got to go C tier. Next up, Henry Cejudo will go B tier. I don't know. Does he go C tier? No. I don't know, man. See, I'm so undecisive. Or indecisive, excuse me. I'll go B tier. Fight with Merab was really fun, but that's kind of due to Merab. Fuck it, you're going down here. Merab brought it. Cejudo didn't. Yeah, he rocked Merab. Sure. Aljo fight was meh. That's all I can really say. Next up, Michael Chandler, S tier. Do I really need to say much more? Look at the Gaethje fight. Look at the Charles Oliveira fight. Look at the Dustin Poirier fight. He's S tier quite comfortably. Next up, Chito Vera, B tier. Chito is fun. He's entertaining. Has a lot of really cool KOs, but before the KOs, he's a little bit slow. I don't think he's the greatest bantamweight in the world. I'll go B tier for Chito Vera. Next up, Colby Covington. It's 2024. I'll go back of C tier. That fight against Leon Edwards, with all due respect to Colby Covington, is one of the most embarrassing performances I've ever seen as a UFC combat sports fan in general. One of the most embarrassing performances, but at the same time has some really fun fights against Kamaru Usman. The Jorge Masvidal fight was decent. I can't put him any higher than C tier. I really can't. Paulo Costa, B tier. Now, if this was prime 2018 Yoel Romero Paulo Costa, he can literally go S tier. He literally can, but he just isn't the same Paulo, man. It grinds my gears. It hurts my head. He just is not the same Paulo Costa. If he gets back to that version, sure. But it's 2024. I'm going to be saying that a lot, guys. I'm going to be saying it's 2024 a lot in this video. But it is, man. It is 2024. And Paulo Costa, in his recent fights, he hasn't brought it. That Strickland performance was poor. What else? Who did he fight before that? Rockhold? Whitaker? I like C tier, or B tier, excuse me, for Paulo Costa. He'll go to the top of B tier, though, because he is still pretty exciting. Next up, Dom Cruz. Yeah, we'll throw him in C tier. He's just old, man. Slower. In his prime, I feel like he's an underrated entertainer, but he's on the older end. He's slower, doesn't have any KO power. I can't put him any higher than C tier. Next up, Beneil Dariush. I'll put him in B tier. Beneil has had an interesting fall from grace. You look after that Gamrot fight, and I'm like, whoa. After that Gamrot fight, I really thought this dude was going to beat Charles Oliveira. Like, that's crazy to say, but he's an exciting fight. Dude, I might throw him in... I'm going to throw him in A. Yeah, low-key, guys, low-key. Low-key, Beneil is an entertainer. Look at that fight with Arman Tsarukyan. Got brutally KO'd. Entertaining as hell. Charles Oliveira fight was very fun. That Mateusz Gamrot fight was really fun. I got to put him in A tier. You guys can't hate me for it. Derek Lewis, I'll go A tier. I'm really close to putting him in B tier, and it's not because he's not entertaining, but it comes to a point where I'm just like, I don't really care about heavyweight knockouts. I'm numb to them. Sure, Derek Lewis KOs are fun, but it comes to a point where it's a heavyweight knockout, and it's like, okay, I've seen it a million times. Dude, I'm gonna put him in. Nah, I gotta put him in A. I can't be too disrespectful. Moving on, my GOAT, my favorite fighter of all time, getting me emotional out here. Charles Oliveira. A tier, or S tier, man. S tier. I just insulted Charles Oliveira by misspeaking and saying he was an A tier. Nah, man. Top of S tier. The dude is literally the motherfucking GOAT, dude. BMF, Most exciting fighter in UFC history, has the most finishes in UFC history. Enough said, man. Enough said. Moving on. Dricus du Plessis, A tier. Love Dricus. Really entertaining fighter. I believe his wonky, drunk style, no disrespect, it just works for him, but that's how it looks. It's visually pleasing, to be completely honest. He's got a wonky striking style, very physically dominant, can get the fight to the ground. That fight with Strickland was pretty entertaining. The fights with Darren Till, Derek Brunson, Robert Whittaker, entertaining. I love Dricus. Gonna go A tier. Next up, DP. Or pause, no Diddy. Dustin Poirier. Dustin Poirier is going into the S tier alongside Michael Chandler, Max Holloway. That's where he belongs. Get Charles Oliveira near him too. Look at those four guys. Look at them. They all deserve to be in that S tier. Just the lightweight destroyer. The lightweight, I don't know. I'm trying to find adjectives for Dustin Poirier. I don't really need to. I don't really need to. We know what Dustin Poirier is about. Moving on. My phone is ringing. I'm sorry if you can hear that. Next up, Leon Edwards. Absolutely C tier. Probably the most, I don't want to say boring, because he's not a boring fighter, but out of all the champions, I'd put him on the bottom in terms of most exciting. And it's not because he doesn't get KOs or doesn't get submissions. It's just because his striking style doesn't really aid KOs, and that's completely fine. I love watching precision, technical striking, but some people don't love that. Some people are bloodthirsty for the KOs. I'm going to put him in B tier because I actually love watching Leon Edwards fight. I'm going to be completely honest. I'll put him B tier. Deiveson Figueiredo, A tier. A tier for Deiveson Figueiredo. He's like a little goblin from Clash of Clans. Love this dude. Absolutely love this dude. Has been putting on entertaining fights for his entire career. Very interested to see who he fights next in the bantamweight division. Do we lob him a Piotr Jan? I feel like that's an incredible fight. I do believe Jan would beat him, but that would be an incredible fight. Throw it as a featured fight on a main card. I'm all for it. I'm all for it. Next up, Justin Gaethje, S tier. Nuff said. Nuff said. Cyril Gane, B tier. I love watching Cyril Gane fight. He brings another dynamic to the heavyweight division. I believe he is by far the best striker in UFC heavyweight history, but at the same time, he doesn't get knockouts over the elite in the division. You look at his KOs, it's over guys who are just not that good. You can look at Derek Lewis, for example. Good fighter, not amazing. But Cyril Gane does have some great fights, for example, Tai Tuivasa, but he isn't like a Francis Ngannou in terms of entertainment in that heavyweight division. So I'll put him B tier. Jeff Neal, B tier. Underrated fighter. I love his boxing. Amazing fight with Shavkat. I feel like B tier is a good spot. We can even throw him, top of B. Top of B. Next up, Bobby, or no. No, what are you doing? What are you doing? King Green. King Green has got to go B tier. Entertaining guy. Entertaining king. Love his boxing. He's old, but he still brings it every single fight. Easy B tier for me. Jamal Hill can go to the A tier. Very entertaining. If he's knocking out Johnny Walker in brutal fashion, or he's getting brutally KO'd by Alex Pereira. It's an entertaining fight. I'm always here for a Jamal Hill fight. Next up, Kevin Holland. You guys might hate me, but actually, no. I'm not going to go too disrespectful. Can't put him on the same tier as dude. Can't put him on the same tier as guys like Henry Cejudo, Dominic Cruz, Aljamain Sterling. Kevin Holland's a cool dude. The only reason he's not in, A tier is because he didn't take a picture with me at UFC 288. Moving on, Ian Gary, C tier. I like Ian Gary. I think he's an underrated fighter, but these recent performances have been a little bit sleepy. He's like, throwing NyQuil into my water before I watch these fights. Gets me a little sleepy. So I got to go C tier for Ian Gary. But he does have some nice fights on his resume. Moving on, Islam Makhachev, S tier. Underrated entertainer, man. This dude is one of the best finishers in the UFC. I like when guys can mix it up, and he does it to an extreme level. His boxing, striking, kickboxing, wrestling, grappling, BJJ is all so elite. He gets finish after finish after finish. Excuse me. He's easily S tier. Easily. Next up, Israel Adesanya. Israel Adesanya. B tier. Now, I know there are a bunch of sleepy fights on his resume. However, we cannot overlook the fact that if there is a finish in an Israel Adesanya fight, it's fucking crazy. Like, if Israel Adesanya gets KOs, they're fucking crazy. So that bumps him up to A. I know you guys are going to hate me, but he's going to go to A. You look at the KO over Whitaker. That's a fucking crazy KO, man. Celebration goes hard as hell, too. You look at his KO over Alex Pereira. Insane. One of the best KOs in UFC history. I know he has some sleepy performances, but the KOs just elevate him, man. If you want to put him top of B tier, that's fine, but he doesn't deserve to go C tier. Next up, Jan Blachowicz. I'll go top of B. One of the most underrated guys at the top of the UFC. One of the best strikers in the UFC. In terms of defensive striking, one of the best ever. I love watching Jan Blachowicz fight. Simple. Next up, Yuri Prohaska. This dude's a samurai. A real-life samurai who is fighting men in the cage. Like, he gets locked in a cage and fights people, and he thinks he's a samurai. How could he not be S tier? Come on now. Jonathan Jones. B tier for John Jones. B tier for John Jones. Ciryl Gane fight was just, it was weird, man, because it just ended so, like, prematurely where it wasn't even that entertaining. Fight with Dominic Reyes was entertaining because Dom was whooping his ass. Fight with Thiago Santos, Fight with Anthony Smith, Gotta go B tier for John Jones. Next up, Khamzat Chimaev. S tier, man. Now, if this was 2021 or I'm axing Khamzat, he's above S tier. He's above, but we've calmed down. It's 2024, coming off of a draw against Kamaru Usman. Amazing fight against Gilbert Burns. He had a fight in between. What was it, Kevin Holland? Still an incredibly entertaining fighter, and when he gets in the cage, it's a treat. It's a treat, guys. S tier for Khamzat. Next up, Merab. Gotta go B tier. I think Merab has warmed up to the fans, or the fans have warmed up to Merab a lot. I believe his fight with, who was it? Petr Yan was a decent fight. His fight with Henry Cejudo was decent. Man. Gotta go C tier, man. His out of the cage antics is what makes him fun. You know what I mean? But in the cage, he's not the most entertaining fighter in the world. So I gotta go C tier. Next up, Brandon Moreno, A tier. Brandon Moreno, I will stand by it, is still one of the most underrated UFC champions in history. He literally has no flaws, and he brings it every single fight. You can look at the Pantoja fights. You can look at the Figgy fights. They're always sick-ass fights. Brandon Moreno, I love the Lego man. So he's got to go A tier. He's got to go A tier. MVP, B tier. Overrated, with all due respect, in terms of entertainment. Fight with Ian Gary, tad bit sleepy. Fight with Kevin Holland was a bit overrated, even though it was fun. He'll go B tier. MVP. Next up, Brian Ortega, A tier, man. When Brian Ortega's fighting, it's a war, dude. It's a war. You can look at the Max Holloway fights. You can look at the Max Holloway fight. You can look at the Volkanovski fight. You could look at the Yair Rodriguez fight. The dude always brings it when he's in the cage. He's an absolute dog. He's a dog, man. A tier. Next up, Paddy Pimblett, C tier. Alessandro Pantoja, B tier. I think just because he's a flyweight, he gets a lot of stick, but he's entertaining, man. He's really entertaining. I love watching his grappling sequences. They're a bunch of fun. His striking style isn't amazing on the feet, but it entertains me, so who cares? B tier for Alessandro Pantoja. Next up, Alex Pereira, Shama. Next up, Brandon Royval, A tier, man. A tier. Brandon Royval is a raw dog. He raw dog. Sorry, I apologize. He's a dog, man. Brandon Royval is a dog. These flyweights really do bring it. When you really think about it, sure, you could call some of their fights boring because they're small. They're small guys, but they always bring it. Brandon Royval, A tier. Next up, Benoit Saint Denis, S tier. Yeah, his fights are crazy. You look at the Matt Frevola fight, you look at the Dustin Poirier fight. They're all crazy, hectic. He's a lunatic, man. He's a lunatic in every sense of the imagination, in every sense of the word, I should say. And I'm here for it. One of the best entertainers and exciting UFC fighters we have on the roster. Corey Sandhagen can go to the A tier. Now, I know Corey doesn't get a lot of finishes. I know that. But if you don't appreciate and enjoy his striking style, I'm sorry. Leave the channel. I banish you from the channel if you don't appreciate Corey Sandhagen. Next up, Shavkat. S tier, man. He's got 18 wins, 18 finishes. How is he not S tier? Moving on, Wonderboy Thompson, A tier. I love watching Wonderboy fight. I believe that Kevin Holland fight is not talked about enough. Oh shit, dude. Oh, we got a problem here. Okay, I'm just gonna keep going up and down because I'm just not recording enough. Oh, I fucked up, gentlemen. I fucked up. Okay, Wonderboy A tier. I'm gonna try to rip through this pretty quick. Steve Erceg, A tier. One of the most exciting flyweights, has arguably the best striking in the flyweight division, and I believe he was brutally robbed against Alessandro Pantoja, A tier. Next up, let's move the camera down. How do we do this? There we go. Move the camera down. Sean Strickland, C tier. Most overrated entertainer on the roster. He jabs and teep kicks for 25 minutes, and I'm not going to hate because that's his style and he gets wins, but in terms of pure entertainment, he doesn't go to war like he says. He doesn't bleed for the fans as he says he does. C tier. Moving on. Oh, fuck. Moving on. Sugar Sean O'Malley. I'm going to line this up real quick. Sean O'Malley, top of A. Very close to S. I would just rather watch the guys in S over O'Malley, but arguably the best striker in the UFC. So entertaining. If you're watching O'Malley, he's most likely getting KOs. Borderline S tier. I want to see him win a few more fights at the highest level. Tony Ferguson. Yeah. Like, if I could put him over here, I can. And it's not because he's not entertaining, but it just hurts to watch. It literally hurts to watch Tony Ferguson. I can't say that about any other guy on this tier list. He's got to go D tier, man. He's got to go D tier. Next up, if you guys are aware of my TikTok account, I have 20,000 followers over there. I am known as the biggest Topuria glazer, and I will embrace that. Topuria is fucking sick. I think he's easily the second best champion we have in the UFC right now. And I love guys who can mix it in. As I said earlier, the dude has underrated grappling and wrestling and the best boxing in the UFC and ridiculous power. He's S tier, easy money, easy shmoney. Next up, Jalen Turner, A tier. If he's losing or if he's winning, I don't care. It's entertaining. The dude has a lot of potential, and I want to see him fulfill the potential. Unfortunately, he is not right now. He really needs to just lock the hell in. That's what I want from Jalen Turner, excuse me. Lock in, buddy. Lock in. Lock in, buddy. Come on. Come on, Jalen Turner. Lock in. There we go. Freaking love Jalen Turner. One of my favorite fighters in the lightweight division. I don't know why I was just like clapping. I don't know why I was doing that. But I just want him to lock in. Simple. Kamaru Usman, A tier. Underrated entertainer. Underrated entertainer. One of my most favorite UFC fighters of all time. One of my favorite UFC fighters of all time, and I stand by that. Freaking love Kamaru Usman. Underrated. I love watching his style of fighting, so he goes A tier. Next up, oh, fuck. Benil, get down. Get down, buddy. Get down. Next up, Marvin Vettori. Dude, he has one finish in the UFC, and it was in his debut. He's got to go to, like, as I was saying earlier, if all my friends are out on a Saturday and I got to watch Marvin Vettori main event the Apex, I'm going to cry, man. I'm going to cry. With all due respect to Marvin Vettori, I don't want to disrespect anybody on this list. That's not what I want to do. But it's just not what I want to do, man. Next up, Volkanovski, S tier. I love watching Volkanovski fight. Maybe we can put him down to A tier because he's getting KO'd and I don't like seeing that. Oh shit. Dude, he's got aura. Why does Volk have aura? You guys see that? It can't just be me. He's got aura, but that's besides the point. I love watching Volk fight. Next up, Johnny Walker, A tier, just because he gets KO'd brutally and it's funny sometimes. Next up, Robert Whittaker. He's the motherfucking man. A tier. Yair Rodriguez, A tier. Petr Yan, S tier. Petr Yan, one of my most favorite fighters in the I don't even know if that's like, that sounds so weird to say. One of my most favorite UFC fighters of all time, or one of my favorite UFC fighters. Yeah, that sounds a lot better. I don't know why I was saying most. I'm sorry, I'm just like going on a tangent here, but Petr Yan is the man. One of my favorite UFC fighters in history. He has my favorite style in UFC history. I'll say that. And then Arman Tsarukyan can go to B tier. Let me know what you guys think of the list. We'll start from the bottom. We have Colby, Dom Cruz, Tony. We got Marvin. In C tier, we have Marab, Henry, Jared Cannonier, Aljo, Ian Machado, Gary, Paddy Pimblett, Sean Strickland. I can't believe I forgot his name. That's the A tier. That's the B tier. And that's the S tier. I'm sorry if I was kind of all over the place in this video. I have a lot of energy right now. Jalen Brunson signed his new contract with the Knicks. I'm all happy and smiley. So I always talk too fast. That's one thing I will improve on, guys. I talk way too fast in my videos because I have so many thoughts and I want to convey them, but I just got to chill out. So yeah, this is the list. Most exciting guys in the UFC. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Click the follow button or click the subscribe button for more. Click the like button. Peace out.